Hi, welcome to Autogo Fool. My name's Brian, and today we're taking a look at the MG IM5 and the MG IM6. Are they going to be able to compete with Tesla? Are they going to be able to sway you away from luxury German brands? And are they going to be able to offer you the sales support that you've come to expect from bigger companies? Let's take a closer look and find out. If you're wondering why I'm not wearing shoes, we're shooting in a studio, can't wear shoes on the floor. The IM6 is 4.90 meters or 193 inches long. And if it looks slightly familiar in terms of its layout, well, it's a clear and obvious competitor to Tesla's Model Y. But they're very keen to point out that what they're going for is something that has a little bit more to offer. Now, the branding gets a little bit complicated. If you have a look here at the bumper, you may see something that you're slightly unfamiliar with. This is the IM logo. That stands for Intelligence in Motion. Now, if you're wondering, well, is it an MG? Isn't it an MG? That's kind of a complicated distinction. And the reason is that both of these companies are separate brands, but they're owned by the SAIC Motor Corporation, which is a Chinese company. So the reason for the slight confusion is that by making it an MG, they're able to take full advantage of the dealer network and all of the support that that brings, but the car itself inherently belongs to the IM brand. So something of a little bit of confusion over the branding, but all in all, you should get the benefits of both of those systems. This is going to become a much more common logo in future. So hopefully you like it. You're going to be seeing a fair bit more of this, I think. In terms of styling, well, I don't think on the front end there's a huge amount that makes this stand out and massively distinctive from many other electric SUVs on the market. But I think that's a good as well as a not so good thing in that it doesn't do anything to offend. It looks solid, it looks well put together, and it looks properly thought through. These lights are full LED, and a lot of the options on this car come as standard. Across the entire network, there are many different options for the way that these cars can be configured. This car was launched a year ago at Goodwood in the UK, and it's been available to order there and buy since the end of last year. So these are already on the road in the UK. But SAIC, the parent company, wanted to do different launches in different countries. So this then will be the launch for Germany, the Benelux countries, and also France. Because of that, even though there are many different options, the option range that has been selected for those countries are very straightforward and easy to navigate. In short, most of what you see here today will be exactly what there is available to order and get delivered in Germany. Now, as we sweep round to the side of the car, some things are going to start looking a little bit more familiar. That brings you right into these wheels, which are 21 inches. These are custom just for the car, and as you can see, the logo is central. Also featuring Continental brakes specifically designed for this system. Now, as you come slightly through to the back, I think they've done a good job visually of compressing down some of the mass of the SUV. This whole bottom section, as with all electric cars, is where the battery is located. Whatever you buy in Germany is going to be coming with a 100 kilowatt hour battery. But it does explain the size and depth of the floor because you still have a lot of battery to fit in. You have a choice of two powertrains. The lower one, which is just rear wheel drive, will give you 300 kilowatts or 407 horsepower of output. The larger one with all-wheel drive, 553 kilowatts or 751 horses. That one will propel you from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour or 62 miles an hour in just 3.5 seconds. If you go with the only rear wheel option, you get 5.4 seconds for that time. But you do get a range of 625 kilometers. And if you go with all-wheel drive, 545. So what's more important to you, power or distance? Speaking of battery, obviously, as you'd expect, everything on this car pretty much has bells and whistles you expect with electric cars. Roman's doing the filming, say hello, Roman. We're discussing earlier these things. Now, these are a little bit controversial at the moment. You may or may not be aware, but a lot of people have been concerned about flush handles causing issues and risks with accidents getting into the car. Now, I think that's more of an issue with cars that are being presently designed now. But MG have actually done something to make that less of an issue here, where all these handles can actually pivot manually. These aren't flush at the moment, but as you can see, there's actually the potential to cantilever this even when it is flush. So just in case you're concerned about staying safe while you're driving, always a good thing to do, they have that covered. Now, round at the back, things also start looking a little bit familiar. Tell me, what does this light signature remind you of? I'm going to guess it's only going to take about 3 seconds for somebody to post in the comments which car it is. I'm not going to say, because I think it's more fun to find out what you guys think. But I'm very interested to know if that's a deliberate ripoff or really just accident. At the end of the day, there's only so many designs going, and you're going to start copying at some stage. I like the way that this is delivered. I think it doesn't look too overstated. It's subtle, it's distinct, but there's enough here to make you feel that this is individual. If you're parking this car in a busy lot, you're still going to be able to see it from the rear end, and I think that's a clear benefit. So, the rear end of an SUV is never the most romantic spot of it, but I think this one's pretty tasteful. What do you think? Let's talk about the charging. So, interestingly, you have touch to get in. And what we're never quite sure about is why the inclusion of these still. Given that so many things are electric and automatic, it just feels a little bit clunky to have to deal with that as well. And obviously they're going to pick up a little dirt and grime from the body while you're busy charging your car. And as that's something you have to do an awful lot, well then, I don't know, this feels as if it could have been slightly better thought through. But that aside, the important detail on this car is obviously the 800-volt architecture. Why? Well, if you're new to electric cars, that dictates the speed at which you can charge it at. This has a maximum charging speed of 396 kilowatts. If again, that doesn't mean a lot to you, how about this? It will charge at that rate from 10 to 80% in just 17 minutes. Now, that might sound very impressive because it is, but it's worth bearing in mind that 400 kilowatt charging stations are not common. You have to check to see if you have one locally, and even if you do, they don't always run at the fully advertised speed. So realistically, it's a very nice to have feature, but it's still better to plan on not quite getting as fast as that in your everyday real world usage. That said, it is the direction of travel for most electric vehicles, and it's nice to have it. I just would like it if there was a little bit more of the same finesse put into this that was put into that. This is a really nice feature for me. These frameless windows really help reduce the overall bulk of the car. And if Roman comes around with the camera, you can actually see that the glazing here is all double thickness. We'll come on to that a little bit more later. But one of the outstanding features of this car is the quiet and peace of the ride. So if you're somebody that really likes to have a quiet interior space, this delivers a lot. So, seats, favorite bugbear. Well, regular viewers will know that Thomas's #1 concern is always, is it sustainable and are there any animals used in the construction? Well, we're very happy to tell you it's all plant-based leather. So, no animals here. But the seats feel really good. I love the way that fake leather's getting better every single year. And this feels great, really nice. Is it any good to sit in? Well, let's find out. First impressions, a very nice, firm, supportive seat. Maybe not quite as much holding on the sides as I might like, but it is an SUV. It's hardly a sports car, but that said, it does have a pretty aggressive acceleration, so I think I might have liked just a little bit more lateral support. The seat feels very firm and very solidly built, and with the electric controls that you have on the side, which I have to say feel a little bit cheap and plasticky compared to competition, they don't feel as nicely delivered as the rest of the seat. So hopefully you're going to be able to not need to mess with this too much after you've actually found your perfect driving position. While we're on the subject of the seats, if the seat's the first thing to hit you every time you get into a car, the second thing is usually the driver's display. Well, we have a 10.5 touchscreen down here and a 26-inch driver display up here. Now, the reason they're relevant to the seats is if you find the traditional seat controls on the side a little plastic feeling, well, don't worry, they've thought of you, because now we have the ability to adjust the seat fully from the central infotainment system. I think this is a bit of a gimmick, but maybe that just makes me old. This is, after all, the way that things are going. It just feels, I don't know, a little counterintuitive. But to be honest with you, I'm a guy who still thinks manual seats are good. So, you know, I'm a bit of a dinosaur in that regard. Now, back on the infotainment system, well, clearly they didn't build all of this digital real estate and not use it. I think it's a bit of an elephant in the room to discuss whether or not you want or like physical controls. So I'll just settle myself on this. If you're a person that still likes knobs and dials and isn't convinced, you're not going to get on with this. This is a fully digital experience. But one, I'm a dinosaur, and two, everybody else more or less is on board with this. So how does this work in this car? Well, the driver's display is divided, broadly speaking, into two sections. The right side is touch responsive, so you can change settings and features directly from the menu here. Everything's designed to feel and look a lot like a tablet layout. We're getting more and more familiar with that all the time. What it does offer you the chance to do is to make full use of things like the onboard cameras. That's especially great if you're trying to park. Now, on that subject, let's just see, as an example, how that would work in the real world. I've arrived where I want to be, and I can immediately touch this button here. Now look what that's done. That's pulled up my cameras, so I can see right the way around the vehicle, and I can see what the cameras are seeing. So that's helpful. There we are, and we can see different views. You can get the most out of that system. The one thing they don't have at launch that I would have liked is they do have a feature that allows you to park the car, and then one that allows you to pull the car out of a tight spot, again, automatically. Many manufacturers have that. You push a button, the car comes to you. That doesn't exist on this car yet, but there is the plan to bring it in, and it has the tech to be able to do it. So if that's important to you, I wouldn't worry about it. It's coming soon, as with a lot of autonomous features. Now, while we're on that subject, it's a big benefit to customers that this car and the IM5 come automatically and freely with both Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. If you're a big AI fan, you might be aware of the fact that Siri is being updated on Apple, and that means that Apple CarPlay is also going to get AI features. And talking about that subject, this car runs on a Snapdragon, and it also has an NVIDIA chipset. All that means is it's the latest and greatest in terms of its performance. So you're buying into a future-safe platform. Hopefully as you can ever be with tech, right? But I can tell you that the main warranty on this, and particularly the battery, which is the expensive bit, is 7 years or 100,000 miles. The interior, as you can see in this car, is a dark color. Now you can actually get this in a lighter gray, but you've got to buy that as an optional extra. It will cost you about an extra €750, around about that price point. I think most people are going to be more than happy living with the dark. It shows up scuffs a lot less. Now, in terms of the finishing, this is an interesting detail. The logo in the middle here, the IM logo, this is part of the safety testing on a car. So because there's an airbag integrated into this, although there was some discussion about it being nice if it featured the MG logo, if they had done that, they would have to re-crash test the car. And for that reason, you get the IM logo here as well. Steering wheel itself, it's comfortable, but I would say there's not a huge amount to write home about. These things look nice. How well the capacitive edges work in terms of the actual driving experience, though, at least it looks clean. Gone are the days of having 19 capacitive buttons that you can't see or feel. And in order to keep it clean and uncluttered, there are also 4 paddles underneath the steering wheel, 2 either side, and that's for making adjustments to your adaptive cruise control, among other things, while you're driving. So it's nice to see that kept clean and uncluttered. The finish here is sparse, as you can tell. If I get Roman to take a look up, both the IM5 and 6 come with this, a full panoramic roof. They're still calling it a sunroof. We used to call it a moonroof back in the day. I think I'm going to stick with panoramic roof because it's a pretty big piece of material. It doesn't have automatic or adjustable tinting, but it is a very nice feature and it does really help with head height, at least as long as you're in the inside of it. As we come slightly further down in the vehicle, this I think is a really nice feature. The way that the central tunnel in this car has been delivered is really clean, but also resonates high quality. Look at the way the material integrate this central screen. A lot of complaints about electric cars are that the displays feel cheap and basic, kind of like a crummy iPad. Well, this integration really changes that story. It just feels a lot more premium. And what I particularly like here is that it's narrow enough to keep massive amounts of usable space for both the driver and the passenger. Underneath this central console, there's a large storage space. Roman was keen to explain to me you could put a bottle of water there, but it is perfect for a handbag. I don't have one, possibly Roman does. It would sit very happily there. There's also a 12 volt, charge point back here, discreetly located at the back. Slightly higher up, there's a nice bit of storage here for just bits and pieces and your phone, and two reasonably sized cup holders. They definitely feel on the plasticky side of plastic, but for 90% of the time, you're not really going to be looking at that. And you can slide the armrest out of the way to cover them up. Overall, the front cabin is extremely high quality. It's very stylish. It's nice and subtle, so there's nothing here to irritate anybody. The seats are firm and supportive. The only question you're going to have is, can you live without the dials? Well, there's no point buying an SUV unless you have a couple of fine-smelling, vintage, gargantuan teenage people to put in the back of here. So will it accommodate them? Let's have a look. Well, I'm very pleased to say that the first glance tells you that the quality resonates throughout the cabin. This is, however, a very interesting feature that we have right here, because that 100 kilowatt hour battery that I've got parked under my feet has resulted in a slightly raised floor. The issue with that being, as you can see, that does mean quite a lot of lift underneath your knees, especially if you're a tall person with long legs. And don't forget, I'm a short person with short legs. My height is 5'10" or 178 centimeters, but I have a very long torso and very short legs. So if these legs look to you as if they could be a little closer to the seat, I can tell you, if you're over 6 foot, it's going to be a little bit unsatisfying, and that is a shame because the back is really a nice quality proposition. Well, the glass roof means that there is ample space above my head, and the seats actually do recline a little bit, but that's not a feature that you can access without doing some form of gymnastics. There we go. You got to reach behind you. They're kids, they can do it. Not so much for your mother-in-law. She's going to need to go somewhere else. But good luck folding it up again. I think you actually have to be less lazy and do it manually. But I like having the option. I think what you would find is that for greater comfort, you're going to want a bit more recline back here. But the same very supportive seats, and it does feel like they wanted you to feel that this is a quality proposition. I know it's a small detail, but it's still a good one. The carpets are really deep, noticeably deep in this car. And they feel not only premium, but also really nice. I happen to be wearing socks. If you're wondering why I'm not wearing shoes, we're shooting in a studio, can't wear shoes on the floor. It's a little odd, but it does fully allow me to appreciate the seats and the carpet. So, USB-C charge point right here, and obviously controls for rear heating and cooling. These could be a little bit nicer. I think I would have liked a bit more of a quality feel back here, but I'm being a bit picky. Everything else feels nice. This resonates with the front. It's a very hard plastic, but as I mentioned earlier in the boot, that's not a bad thing because it's easy to keep clean. So whatever sticky horrors get left here by smaller people, they'll be easy to take care of. The seats have a 60-40 split. So if you're looking to fit something slightly bigger in the back, you can just flip down the seat. And I think I should be able to do that from here. I like the ability to do that without getting outside, because if you take these vehicles somewhere exciting for camping, then you can actually fully access everything you need to without ever leaving the space. And if the weather's not great, that's actually kind of handy. So you can see they're not quite full flat, but it does give you full use of the vehicle, which means you can fit pretty much anything in here you'd ever want to. So overall, the experience of being in the back is actually pretty nice, and it's a very practical vehicle. So whatever you find yourself needing to do with it, I'm pretty sure you're going to be more than happy, unless you've got very long legs. Well, as you'll know, one advantage of an electric car is you often get a frunk. Well, it's a pretty big vehicle, so you would think there would be a pretty big frunk, right? Yeah, not so much. So you've got a handy little storage space which can take a couple of different things rather than a massive motor taking up that room. Now, there are two different drive platforms that will be available on this. You can either have it standard in the rear-wheel drive, or you can have all-wheel drive. But what's really important is whichever of those platforms you pick from, the battery is always going to be 100 kilowatt hours, and you will always get a very nice detail, which is all-wheel steering. What does that mean? It means it has a ridiculously small turning circle. Actually, unbelievably, for a car of this size, only the same space required as in a Volkswagen Polo, if you can believe that. Well, now that's great if you want an SUV, but how about if you want a saloon? Well, that's where the IM5 comes in. And here it is. Now, most of those numbers stay the same. You're still going to get the 800 volt architecture. You're still going to get the 100 kilowatt battery. So the charging is exactly the same. What does change slightly is going to be the top speeds and the 0 to 100 timing. On this car, you're looking at only 4.9 seconds if you have the lighter motor configuration, or 3.2 if you go with all-wheel drive. The range, as you'd expect, is also slightly further. 710 kilometers if you go with the rear-wheel drive only, and 575 if you're going with all-wheel drive. So this one's a bit of an opinion splitter. I have to tell you, Roman, who's doing our filming today, thinks that this is the more aesthetically pleasing product. I like the SUV a little better, so I'm very interested to see what you think. The side profile is very sleek. Now, you may notice, if you're particularly sharp-eyed, that these wheels are 1 inch smaller. We still don't know yet whether they're going to be available all sizes on both models. And again, the light signature wrapping into the side really visually disrupts the bulk of the side of the vehicle. Possibly because we've just been looking at the SUV. It does look a lot sleeker, a lot more compressed, but I think that's just the vehicle style. The height's nice, the space is good. And as you will probably know from similar vehicles, you get a little bit more length on this. Not a huge amount, around about 1 inch of extra space at the back. But it does mean that stylistically, it looks a lot more comfortable. Now, round at the back, we have the same exact access that we had on the SUV, where we push this button for trunk access. But as you would expect, not quite so much room inside. 457 liters of load space in here. But look at that depth. Again, an advantage you get with a sedan, right? You can fit some pretty long stuff back here without needing to worry about the seats. Obviously, you're going to sacrifice a little bit on the load height, but there's still plenty of room. What you don't get on the coupe is any underbed storage. So what you see is what you get, unless, of course, you want to fold down the seats. As far as the interior finishing is concerned, it's very, very similar to the SUV as you'd expect. It does, of course, feel low to the ground, which adds a lot to the sleekness of the overall experience. I think this is going to be a very straightforward choice for you. If driving is your number one thing and you don't regularly have lots of people and stuff to transport around, with the additional range that you're going to get, the better efficiency, I think this is going to be a very good pick. But the other one has more utility, so it really does depend on what you need it for. You're not compromising anything in terms of what you get with the car, so it should be a nice, easy choice for you to make. How about the back though? Is that any different? Well, this feels a little like deja vu too. Thanks to this canopy, you actually have plenty of headspace back here, and you really don't feel you're compromised in terms of room because of the fact you're in a sedan. But the same issue with the legs. So again, if you have particularly tall rear passengers, it's just probably a good idea to check them for comfort before you commit. A little bit less in the way of rear seat comfort, but to me, I like this. It feels a lot more, I think, what I expect I have a higher expectation of the back of an SUV, so consequently this is much more in keeping with what I'd be looking for in the back of a saloon. Little differences. Here, instead of having plastic catches, you have cloth straps to pull down the seats, but the same geometry applies. You've got a 60-40 split. It's very easy to get to where you need, and there really is plenty of room back here. In keeping with the massive amounts of space in the boot, you can extend out a very long way indeed. And I think it really does make the choice a very simple one. What's more important to you, driving experience or utility? I think it comes down to that. If I lived in the middle of the countryside where the roads are terrible, I kind of do, then the SUV for me is a no-brainer because I can put anything I want in it and I'm not frightened of the road conditions. It's just great. But if I lived in and around town or I had long commutes to do between big cities, this is my pick. Better range, it's going to be more comfortable to drive. And all of the nice additional features on it, I think, are going to feel a lot more executive in this car than they do in the SUV. That's just the nature of the car design. But overall, I think it's going to be a very nice, easy choice for you. Well, I don't know if this is going to make Roman happy or not, but he didn't like the disconnect between the powered flap and the plastic interior. No such problem here, because it just all feels a little bit more like it matches the flaps. I don't know about this. I think that could have been done a little better, but you know what? It's not the end of the world, and I'm pretty sure I get used to it. So the MG IMs 5 and 6, what do we think? Well, lots to like, and lots to still be a little bit puzzled about. Is it going to be a clear competition for Tesla? The answer is a resounding yes. Given everything this car comes with as standard, it's a huge value proposition. Can it take on its German competition? Well, that remains to be seen. I think they still have a slightly more premium feel, but this is a very good step in the right direction. And when you consider the value proposition, well, although you might like the German competition, your bank balance is really going to like these cars. And if you try them, you might decide that that's okay after all. The third question was, but what about the support? Thanks to it being an MG, yeah, okay, it might not feel entirely like an MG, but it does gain the use of the dealer network and support systems that MG has to offer. You have a very compelling offer here, and please let us know what you think.